Welcome to another episode of DD on the Spot. As always, I'm your host, Ryan Johnson. And before I get to our guest here today, I'd like to remind everyone that if you enjoy this content, to please give a like and subscribe down below. I'd greatly appreciate it. We have Debbie Crall on the podcast. She's a 64-year-old grandma, if you can believe it. I mean, I think she might be lying on her Instagram. I don't know if to believe it or not, but she's also a personal trainer, and nutrition coach, and award-winning bodybuilder. She's a jack of a lot of trades. And she's coming to us all the way from the Lone Star State that is Texas. But most importantly, she's our current guest. Debbie, thank you so much for coming on.
You bet. Thank you for having me.
Well, I got to ask, first of all, what's the weather like in Texas today?
Oh, it's great. Sunshine, birds are singing. It's wonderful.
As the saying goes, if you don't like the weather in Texas, just wait another 5 minutes. So, hey, you never know. But again, that's going from woes from weather. I mean, I have a whole podcast planned. It's like a 10-hour long one where I'm just going to talk winter woes. It's probably going to be even longer than that because of all the stories that I have to tell being up here in Minnesota. But before I depress everyone with that, Debbie, I know that you've been in, this lifestyle for so long, and take as much time as you want with this answer, but what really inspired and motivated you to get in shape, and how has that led to, being 64 and still so active and in shape?
You know where it all started? It started back in 1981 at a family barbecue. And I was running around the yard with the kids, and I was just getting winded and out of shape. And I'm like, oh my gosh, I can barely breathe. So my uncle Eric said to me, Debbie, how old are you? And I can't remember if it was 26 or 27, but it was around there. And I told him, and he said, yep, this is where you start going downhill. And I was like, what? Are you serious right now? I'm only 26 years old. What does that mean? So all the way home, I'm thinking to myself, what does that mean? And I was just puzzled all night. I just had trouble sleeping and I couldn't sleep, and I tossed and turned. I woke up the next morning with no alarm, just automatically at 5:30 in the morning, and I turned on the TV, and there was this. You're a spring chicken. You just graduated in 2018, so you probably don't know Joni Griggins or Bess Mata. These ladies were the fitness gurus on TV doing exercises, and so I just kind of fell in, started doing exercises, and Joni Griggins had said to me one time. Not to me, but on the TV, she said, no more road maps on these thighs. And I was like, what is she talking about? So I got up and went to the mirror, and I'm like, oh my God, I got those. I can't have that there. So I went right back to work, squeezing harder with every single repetition. And I started taking it very, very seriously. I became, check it out. I smoked 2 packs of cigarettes a day. Yeah. I drank pretty close to 6 Dr. Peppers a day. So internally, I was very unhealthy, very unhealthy. So I was able to just ditch all of that once I got into bodybuilding. I called a fitness studio one day after 3 weeks, 4 weeks of working down at home because I thought I was a rock star, I'm like, oh, I can do this. So I called this Elaine Powers, real small women's fitness studio. And I said, are you hiring any aerobic instructors? And she was like, no, we're not. And I'm sorry, that was President's. President says, no, we're not hiring. And are you experienced? And I said, well, no, I'm not. And I hung up the phone, and I thought, gosh, how do you get experience without having experience? So then I called Elaine Powers, and I said, hi, my name is Debbie. Are you guys doing any hiring for aerobic instructors? And she said, oh, as a matter of fact, we are. And then I got scared. I was like, oh my gosh, what do I do now? So anyway, she asked me if I had an experience, and I said, yeah, I've been trained by Bess Mata and Joni Griggins. and she was like, because everybody knew who they were back then. And so she was like, what? Are you serious? I said, yeah, they were on TV. I was in my living room and we both laughed. And that's what broke the ice. I went in, auditioned, got the job. And fast forward to 1986 is when I first decided to do a bodybuilding competition, because people in the gym, we had moved from Garland to Texarkana, and I went to a bigger gym, and people were like, man, you should compete in bodybuilding. And I was like, no, those girls are really gross. I don't want to look like that. True story. And so I decided to enter my first show, and I had no help from anybody, none at all. And I did it all on my own, but it happened in Wisconsin when we moved from Texarkana to Wisconsin. And I was training with these girls in the gym, and they had been training for this show for like 9 months. And there was a trainer I met. His name is Doug Andruski. Awesome, awesome coach. And he was training with them, but I couldn't afford the services. So I just kind of did what they did and, learned on my own. And so I ended up winning my very first show. I won first place in my class, which was middleweight, and first place overall. And I'm like, oh my gosh, how did I do that? Well, I went to Madison the following week because one of the judges said, we're going to have another one in Madison next week. You should do that. So I said, okay. So I did that and won. And I was like, what is going on? It was at that time that I met Doug Andruski, a very knowledgeable uh, fitness coach, personal trainer, and all that. And he gave me a little insight on nutrition. And once I got a grip on that, everything changed. Everything. I've never ever done any type of steroids. I never even thought about it, but I have been accused because I changed so fast. But it was my nutrition. I wasn't eating half as what I should have been, and I just learned so much. It was a great road. And anyway, I hung up my posing suit. I think it was in '93 where I won my last competition. In '93, it was the Arkansas State. I won first in my class, first overall, and that was it. I actually did one national show. I traveled all the way from Wisconsin to Las Vegas to compete in the nationals, North American national, and I was so blessed to be standing next to Linda Murray. I don't know if you ever heard of
Oh,
her.
absolutely.
Next to her, I was like, oh my gosh, being surrounded by all these amazing athletes and just rubbing shoulders with them and finding out what they're doing and all this. And they gave me compliments and all that. But when I weighed in 1 pound over, which put me in the heavyweight division. And I was like, no, are you serious? They wanted me to take a diuretic so I could lose that pound. And I was like, no, because I'm real picky about what I put in my body, and I'm like, no, you're just playing with me. You're just, no, it's not going to work. And so I didn't. And so I competed in the heavyweight, and that just really hurt me. And I never went back. I thought at that point, I think I'll just play around with it and and just keep going and making lifestyle changes and lifestyle habits. And so that's what I did. That's exactly what I did. And I got my kids involved. I put them on my shoulders and do squats and lunges. And yeah, I'd pick my youngest one up and just pick them up like, oh, 15 times, honey, we got to go. Yeah, just stuff like that. And it just, I developed a lifestyle, and still to this day, I'm training for life. And that's what I'm doing.
Well, and that's such a great story. And I saw too that when you were close to your 60s, you decided that you wanted to come back and do another show. So I saw that. So what was that experience like?
I did the Ronnie Coleman. Yes, I did. I did the Ronnie Coleman. I forgot to mention that. I was 60 years old. I peaked like 3 weeks before that. I was at my best. And then I just kind of started losing it, because you lose it. And yeah, I ended up coming in, competed in physique and figure. No, yeah, physique and figure. And I came in top 5 in physique, which was really good in the 45 and over. And then I came in third in the figure. So yeah, I was and I walked off the stage and I thought, why am I even doing this? 7 years doing this. People were like, oh, you should do it, Debbie. You're 60 now. And I'm like, okay. So I did it for fun.
And that's great. And I mean, since you've started, I mean, so much has changed with the fitness industry because it's always ever evolving. And I always say, like, every day there's a new weight loss program or there's a new exercise. What would you say is probably some of the biggest changes that you've seen since you started in '81? Because I remember my dad would always talk about, like, oh, the Nautilus was the big thing back in the day and stuff. And I didn't even know what that was. I had to look it up. And just so much has changed from then to now. But what would you say are some of the bigger changes that you've seen? Because it's really, I mean, if you watch like workout videos and stuff from that era, it is a total 180 of what it's like now. You most likely.
It depends on what subject you're trying to target. If you're targeting competitions have really, really did a 380. It's the posing suits, the posing, the music. It's just so different, and there's so much more, especially in the bikini category. Yeah, it's like watching paint dry. It's like, here we go. How do they pick? I don't know, but that that's changed a lot. Um, they do the poses like with open hands now, and instead of, if you're gonna do it, But it's just you got to go with the flow if you want to continue to do that kind of thing. But another thing is the gimmicks. I see a lot of gimmicks out there with pills and patches and drinks and all this to lose weight and catchy phrases in the food industry. It's crazy. I'm working on a 5-day course for eating for success, energy, and weight loss. So that's what I've been doing for the past month, is getting all this together because I get a lot of questions on nutrition. And this kind of inspired me to make this course for those people. But yeah, gimmicks and yeah, just the world. The world has changed. Corona, you know.
Yep. Yep. Oh man, that's we'll talk about that a little bit in a little bit, but I mean, you were talking about how nutrition really changed everything for you, and I always say that is one thing that is not talked about as much as it should be in the health and fitness community. I mean, that's 80 to 90% of the results that you're going to see, regardless if you're competing, if you're just trying to get in shape. But what were those nutritional changes that you made when you really started to take things seriously that really showed those results for you?
I started eating more like every before a show. I would up it to like I don't know, maybe 3,000 to 4,000 calories. I laid off the Dr. Pepper completely. Started drinking more water. I was
No,
getting
no diet Dr. Pepper?
no way, do it. You're gonna do it. No, but I haven't had a soda in I don't know how long. It's been forever. So yeah, that and just getting my protein and carbs and fats, all together to figure out what worked for me. I would get, back there, then there was just no resources to speak of. I mean, other than the library, which was right around the corner in Wisconsin. So I would just pick up the kids, let's go to the library and see what I could find on food, But Doug Andruski helped me a lot as far as my calories, my carbohydrates, proteins and fats. So I was eating more often, drinking more water, getting more quality rest. I upped my protein. My carbs were probably 45% of my diet. Yeah, and then, but I came in ripped every single time. I mean, to shreds. So I'm kind of blessed with good genes. I used to tell my mom that I'm the most blessed egg you've ever hatched. Yeah, genetics plays a huge role, but still that nutrition, yeah, that's big, huge, and everybody's different.
Well, and you brought me into my next question perfectly because I love to talk genetics on this podcast because especially in this day and age where everyone's on social media, I hear it all the time like, oh my God, I want his arms, I want her abs, I want their back. People just don't realize that you can only be the best version of yourself. And a lot of that is just due to a lot of misunderstandings. But on top of that, I mean, I always say whenever someone first gets started working out, they always have one body part that really, really takes off that they don't have to train as much. And they always have one body part that just for the life of them just doesn't move at all. I mean, for me, my legs are the one thing that doesn't. I'm 6'3", so my lower body is just absolutely shot. Where I could inject pure muscle into my legs and they wouldn't even gain an ounce. I mean, I don't know why, but my back. I had jobs all throughout college too of working in warehouses where you got a nice back or you quit. But what were those body parts for you when you were getting started?
Yeah, my arms and my abs, my biceps and my abs were just ripped. And the worst part, the hardest part, and it still is my hamstrings.
Hey, well, we hear that. That's why I love to ask that question because we hear it all the time, the different amount of answers. And, yeah, like some people, it's just all goes down to it. But a myth and stereotype that I love to bust on this podcast, and it's gotten better the last 5 years due to Instagram, but there are still, unfortunately, so many women that have that fear that if they walk into the gym and they pick up one weight, they're going to put on 50 pounds of muscle overnight. And first of all, I would spend my entire life savings to train with you then because you have found the secret that, I am looking for. And, you'd probably be the first ever trillionaire, but I know that you probably didn't have that fear when you were getting started, but I bet you still hear that all the time. How do you like to respond to that when people come up to you and say that?
Oh yeah, I don't want to get bulky. This is what I hear a lot. I don't want to get bulky. Well, what's bulky? Because someone that's smaller than me, they probably look at me as being bulky. And I could be looking at someone bigger than me and thinking they're bulky. So it's hard to define the word bulky. Extremely difficult to gain a significant amount of muscle mass. No, you're not going to be, unless you're taking some kind of human growth hormone. I mean, steroids come a dime a dozen at the gym. I mean, in these And there's some that don't. There's some that don't do this. And I've always been a natural athlete and believed in that. Nutrition and hard work. Those are your keys. Nutrition and hard work. Consistency. Oh, takes the cake. Yeah.
Yeah. Well, I was gonna say absolutely. Yeah. I mean, this is a lifestyle that people my age are not going to want to really get into because everyone wants everything now and they want it yesterday. They want their Amazon delivered, I want it, before I even click the button. So this is a lifestyle that you're not going to really want to get into. But one thing that I say impacts women, especially women, I'd say more than men, is that confidence boost that working out gives you. I mean, we've heard hundreds of stories on this podcast of women who have just, used that to really benefit their lives. And how have you taken this confidence boost that working out's given you all throughout your life and used it to impact your life in a positive way?
It's done amazing things for me as far as my confidence and discipline. Um, yeah, I'm not afraid to do anything. If I want to do it, I'm going to do it. I competed in American Ninja Warrior in 2015, and I was what 60, something like that. Yeah, and I was never picked for the show, but I went to Houston and St. Louis to test some obstacles, and that was enough for me. I don't, but yeah, confidence is everything. Confidence is just everything. Uh, I've never been afraid of the stage. I've always been a little ham, like, give it to me. Come on, let's go. It's my turn. Let me show you what I got. That's the type of personality I have. And I'm just, it's really helped me a lot sticking with the lifestyle and having the confidence it takes to do anything I want to do and accomplish. So, yeah.
I mean, yeah, that confidence, it just goes, it can really benefit you in so many ways, but also being that you're a nutrition coach. And I mean, nutrition is something that a lot of people struggle with, like we talked about before. I mean, the obesity crisis is, getting worse and worse. When you're dealing with new clients and people, what would you say is probably the number one nutritional thing that they struggle with or they struggle to adapt to that people should really get invested in?
Time. Yeah, they don't have time. They don't know what to eat. I had a question the other day that says she comes home from work and she makes dinner, but she's so hungry that she's snacking. And by the time she makes dinner, it's like, well, she's full. So, yeah, I don't, there's so many questions that I get. I get bombarded with questions on nutrition. And everybody is different. But I guess time would be the most. They don't know what to eat. They don't know what to shop for at the grocery store. They don't know how to read food labels. I could go on and on. And they fall for the gimmicks. The gimmicks. Oh, well, I've been doing this and I've been doing that. It hasn't worked. Well, this is why it hasn't worked. And I try to give them a little insight on that. And it's a misinformed society. And actually, society has literally conditioned our taste buds to crave this fatty foods, salty foods, and all of that. And so this is what they run to because they have to decondition those taste buds. I did it. I stopped smoking and I ditched the Dr. Pepper. Yeah.
Yeah, and I mean, it is unfortunate that everyone is different because, yeah, if anyone would ever come up with like, this is something that works for everyone, but yeah, people just don't understand that they're like, oh, it worked for him or her. Why isn't it working for me? It's, well, not everyone's built the same or nobody's built the same. So that's just one thing that I think a lot of people need to be more informed on, especially. But one thing that is, the most important thing when it comes to recovery, it's the most important thing probably when it comes to, this lifestyle by far is sleep. I mean, sleep is not talked about as much as it should be, probably more than nutrition. I mean, I've never seen one post on Instagram by anyone saying, here's the amount of sleep that you should get, here's some tips and tricks that you should use, but what amount of sleep do you try to get, and are there any tips or anything that you take to help yourself get to sleep? I mean, melatonin's a huge thing for me just because like it just really helps me. But what is your experience with getting that proper amount of sleep? Because a lot of people struggle with it in this day and age.
Yeah, maybe they go to bed too early. Maybe they just like need to shut down. As far as internal medicine, I don't do. I love to listen to Yanni and just lay on my back in the bed. It has to be totally pitch black in the room, and I have a little kitten. She's like 5 months old, so she loves to play at night. But yeah, Yanni actually calms her down too, and she calms down and she purrs and everything. And but I lay there and I tell myself I'm not going to move. If you don't move, conscious, just don't move at all. You're going to get tired, and your body will slip into a sleep mode. That with I don't know, calm music, melatonin, whatever it takes. But That's what works for me. And I don't want to like go to bed when I'm not tired. So let's see, last night I was in bed at 10:30, and I was up at 6 this morning. So, but sometimes I go to bed, I'm tired, depending on my day. I'm on bed by 8:30 and I'm up at 4. So yeah, it just depends. I don't have a specific amount of hours, that I sleep.
Well, that's why I love asking that question because I work nights, so I'm usually in bed around like 3 or 4 in the morning. So some of these guests are getting up by the time I'm going to sleep. So I always do find that fascinating, really. But another thing that I've been doing a lot in this pandemic because I have just so much more free time is a lot of cardio. But what is your relationship with cardio like? Because a lot of people, it's a hit or miss thing, and I always say the people that really enjoy it, they might want to get their brain checked or something. Because I don't understand. I mean, I absolutely hate it, but it's a necessary evil. What is your relationship with cardio like?
I cannot stand getting on a treadmill or a stepper or some kind of cardio machine. I got to be outdoors. I mean, I got to be outdoors riding my bike around the neighborhood. I love, love, love the outdoors, especially if the weather's nice. My cardio comes from nonstop weight training because it burns a ton of calories, a ton, big, huge. So when I'm doing my cardio, I'm doing like 5 exercises. I group like 5 exercises together and do like 25 reps of each one and go right on to the next one. So, but here's the thing: the weight can't be that heavy. It's got to be cardio, so where you keep your heart rate up. You can definitely use weights as your cardio, unless you just love the treadmill or dreadmill, swear master. That's what I call them. Yeah. So I've never been a fan of those. If it's all that I have at that moment, like when I used to go to the gym, that's what I would do. I like to run around the track, but that's how I get my cardio.
Yeah, and I mean, I used to do that myself too. It's just literally the only reason I'm not still doing that is because I have just literally too much time on my hands where I would literally just go crazy because I've been in between furloughs. I mean, I'm at UPS, so like literally every 2 weeks they'll just be like, "Oh, hey, take a week off because with the coronavirus, everything is just going absolutely crazy." But everyone always likes to talk about as people age, oh, it becomes so much harder to maintain this healthy and fit lifestyle. But what is one aspect of this lifestyle that you think has gotten easier for you as you've aged?
Oh, more energy, definitely, definitely more energy.
And that's definitely the key. I mean, we all know some of those people that could use a little bit more energy in their lives, and that's definitely, yeah. I mean, I remember too when I was, I'm in not as good a shape as I was when I was in college because I just had, I didn't have a job, I didn't have this podcast, but yeah, I just remember, yeah, just the energy was a huge thing where you really had that advantage over so many people. But when you are working out, I mean, so many people talk about the physical transformation that takes place in this journey. Not enough, I think, is focused on the mental change that happens because the mental aspect of this lifestyle is so much harder, I think, for people than the physical. I mean, I always say you can wake up in the morning and convince yourself to work out, but just waking up and, oh, I got to eat right, I got to do all this. The mental aspect can be so hard. What was that mental adjustment like for you as time progressed?
Oh, well, back in the days, I learned that it takes 21 days to form a habit. And you push yourself through the 21 days, you see changes, and that's going to motivate you. That right there is going to make you hit the floor running. If you're not consistent with that and the mental capacity, because I do it too. It happens to me all the time. I'm like, oh gosh, I'm really tired today. Rarely do I have those days, but I'm tired today. I don't want to do a video, but I do it anyway. I kind of psych myself up, and once that mental energy kicks in, oh, it's game on. But that comes with practice, positive feedback, telling yourself, talking to yourself, waking up the first thing in the morning and saying it's going to be a great day. I'm going to eat right. I'm not going to eat any processed foods. I'm going to work out. It's great. You got to tell yourself that, other than, ugh. But I'm not perfect. It happens to me, but it takes a lot of discipline and practice.
Oh, I mean, that's happened for me with podcasts too, where if I got to get up early in the morning, it's like, oh, I really don't want to do this, but then you do it and then it ends up turning out great. And you're like, I can't believe I didn't think about doing, or I was thinking about not doing this. And I also, yeah, there are so many examples that I have when it comes to that. But being that you're a personal trainer as well, I mean, this has been really interesting during this whole pandemic. We're going to get into the pandemic part now because this is something that's impacted all of our lives in ways that we would have never guessed. And how has it impacted you being a personal trainer? Because gyms have been, they were shut down at first and then they're opening back up. But how has this whole adjustment during this pandemic been like for you? Because your professions are one thing that was probably affected more than a lot of other things.
Yes, yes. I had been personal training actually back in October. I kind of went in another direction and started doing online courses, online training, and stuff like that. And when the pandemic happened, I'm like, oh, okay, this is perfect because everybody's looking for online stuff. I used to go to uh, a gym that closed down during the pandemic, and they reopened, and you had to wear a mask. And I can't see working out in a mask. I just couldn't go there. But anyway, yeah, I'm doing the online thing now, but I was kind of done with that back in October. It's like I've been doing it all my life. I mean, all my life I've been doing personal training one on one. So it was just time to go in a new direction. And then March hit, and then all this stuff happened. So it was like meant to be. So
You definitely picked the perfect time. But so now are you doing just at home workouts and stuff, or are you still going back to gyms now that they've opened up?
I'm not going. I'm perfectly happy doing home workouts. It was an adjustment, a real big adjustment for me at first, but like it goes back to the mental thing where just because don't let this pandemic get you down. Don't go there and get in a rut. When it first happened, I was in a rut. I was depressed. I'm like, oh my gosh. And then you have to just pull yourself together because that's not me. I'm not depressed. I don't want to be depressed. But this helped my mentality so much. Whether I had to go out into my garage when it was 100 degrees, uh, yeah, and work out, I did it. I did it, and that comes with the lifestyle change, just discipline. But
Yeah, I mean, hey, even if I was the most in shape person and disciplined person on the planet, there's no way I'm walking out into a 100-degree garage. I'm telling you, put some buckets of ice cubes around me or something like that. Just so, even if you don't have AC, but yeah, that's Texas for you. Yeah, yeah, it's definitely a battle of willpower as well. But were there any food shortages that you had, or anything like that during the pandemic? Because there were some places here where like meat was in short supply. Did anything like that happen in your area?
oh well, the grocery store shelves were emptied out. There's no toilet paper.
No, and and yeah, I mean, luckily for me, I do have a neighbor that was a massive hunter, so he had literally like hundreds of pounds of deer venison that, we could literally just go over and get if there's, any meat shortages about. But I mean, this is the perfect time, I think, for so many people to get in shape because, like that excuse that you hear all the time, oh, I don't have the time. I just don't have the time to do this. If you say that now, I don't know what's going on in your life because if you're too busy now to still get in shape, I mean, you got to have a pretty darn good excuse. But what advice do you have for people that are looking to get started now? Because, like you said, and I agree with this, I always say this too. The number one thing, I mean, people do not want to be out of shape. I've never met someone that wants to stay like that. A lot of people just lack the tools, they lack the knowledge. But what advice would you have for people just to get started? Because I always say taking that first step is the hardest thing. But once you do, everything just becomes so much easier.
Yeah, I would say get a pencil and paper, write down a specific goal that you have. Be specific. It's not just get in shape. Why do you want to get in shape? What's that going to do for your life if you get in shape? That's where I always start with my clients. What do you want? Well, I don't know. I just want to lose weight. Well, how much weight do you want to lose? I don't know, maybe 10 pounds. Be specific with your goals. Put it on your refrigerator. Put a pair of pants up that you used to wear last year. Tag them up to your bathroom mirror and look at them every day. Try them on every day. God forbid, stay off the scale though. Oh Lord, have mercy. These people and that dadgum scale. This is what's a mind game, man. You get on that scale, and there's a lot of things transforming inside the body, and a lot of people don't understand that. They gain 1 pound, and it's like they have a meltdown. Go take a poop. Maybe that'll help.
Yeah, that's why I purposely only do it monthly, where I weigh myself, never even more, and it doesn't even really affect me. I'll just do it like if I just have free time and I'm going to take a shower, and then just on the way to the shower, I'll just weigh myself. But yeah, I know. Yeah, I mean, if people, I know some of those people where it's like they got to weigh themselves 3 times a day, and when they get up, when they're in the middle of the day, and then when they go before they go to bed, and it's like, why do you torture yourself like this? I never did understand that.
Are you ever really happy with the numbers? I would just tell them to get a goal, and just get mental with it. People like this, they need a motivator. They need to surround themselves with other people that are after the same thing they are. It's really hard to do it on your own. Super hard. So yeah, that's really important. That support group is so important.
Yeah.
So important.
Oh, and yeah, I've always said too, like especially when you said that when you first started bodybuilding without a coach, I was like, oh God, because we hear that story all the time where it's like you need a, if you really don't know anything, get a personal trainer, get a coach. Like I told you before we started recording, I was blessed that I had prior knowledge to working out, so I didn't need a personal trainer or anything like that. But yeah, for anyone, just reach out to people and do that because that. I mean, you are going to get vastly better results. And a lot of people have that myth that, you know, like, oh, I'm going to have to stick with that trainer. You don't have to. I mean, it's just like anything else. If it doesn't work for you, and not every trainer is going to benefit you in a great amount, it just all depends on stuff. But I mean, I always said you should really, I should rename this podcast really trial and error because that's a theme that I love to talk about. But how do you think that you've adjusted as your, you know, fitness journey has gone on to that prospect of trial and error? Because your body is never going to be perfect. I mean, you're always going to have to keep adapting stuff. People don't realize that if you could plateau a lot of the time too, if you work out the same amount in the same times. What is that mental adjustment like for you that like you always have to be trying new things and always need to be adapting?
Yeah, I mean it's more than just bodybuilding for me. I grew up with bodybuilding. That's what I started out with. That's what I got the results with. But I love CrossFit. I might attend one class, but to sign up for CrossFit to do like every day, I don't do that. Not to knock anybody that does, because man, I've seen the pregnant women are doing that CrossFit. I mean, Debbie had
I've
this.
seen that they have like six pack pregnant abs, and you're like, what's going on?
You should see their kids, man. Their kids are like big shoulders and stuff. They look awesome. They're healthy, and they don't have any issues. But for me, just bodybuilding. But yeah, I do get kind of stale in that. So I do yoga. I love hot yoga. That's my go-to. If I get like stale or bored, I definitely attend a yoga class or do yoga in my garage. There's I used to go to hot yoga back before my fitness center closed down, and now she's going and doing this outside, and it's a different kind of heat. And I'm like, oh my God, I can't even breathe outside on my porch at 100 degrees, let alone go and work out. So I do it in my garage, but that's my go-to. I love it because flexibility is a neglected component of physical fitness. Huge.
Well, and again, if I were to go outside with this thick Norwegian skin of mine, I mean, I would get burnt to an absolute crisp doing that 100-degree flexibility training. So yeah, I mean, they're just, it's all about adapting and finding out what works best for you. And I mean, I still have a lot of these friends that say, you know, oh, I want to train just like so and so, and it's like, okay, but you're not going to get the same result. I just have to really just shake them down and just say, you know, hey, it doesn't, unfortunately, it does not work that way. But one of the questions that I asked all of the guests, or not the guests, but the audience before New Year's Eve, I asked them, I said, what's one body part that people are looking to improve the most this year? And the answers, I had like 8 of them. It was like arms, back, abs, hamstrings, calves, shoulders. Like I listed a ton of things, and arms won by like 10%. And you said that was a body part that really, really grew for you. So what does an arm day look like for you? Because everyone, especially guys, I know basically guys communicate with their arms, but what does an arm day look like for you? Because as we can see at 64, you still have really nice arms. Look at that. It's ridiculous.
No, well, when I was competing, it was a lot different than what I'm doing now. What I'm doing now is just basically maintaining what I have because as we age, we lose the muscle fibers and our muscles atrophy, they shrink. So I'm maintaining a typical arm workout would be barbell curls for like 10 to 12 reps, hammer curls, concentration curls, band curls, medicine ball curls. You can use anything to curl. You can use. I was holding a medicine ball the other day, holding it and doing bicep curls. So yeah,
You could curl your grandkids. I mean, really anything that really pops up.
yeah, my grandkids love to work out. Well, not all of them, but yeah,
But
love it.
well, and the most important thing too, people don't realize triceps too. I always say the forgotten muscle that I mean, it's so much, and it takes up so much more of the arm. If you have nice triceps, that offsets anything. So that's one piece of advice that I always like to give out as well.
Absolutely, absolutely. If you work the front, you have to work the back. If you work the quads, you have to work the hamstrings. If you work the abs, you got to work the core movement system. Yes.
It's a yin yang. It was a yin yang thing for sure. Yeah, I mean, we've all seen those disproportional people where they walk in and you're like, okay, they definitely need to work on that area group. But being, I mean, that you are 64, I always say that it's so important to have role models like you for especially the younger generation like me and the generation even after me. I'm 26, where I mean, so many people and so many studies have researched the fact that I mean, if you have that healthy and strong role model, you are vastly more likely to be in shape for your life because you just see that positive example. And how important is it for you, for just your kids, your grandkids, just everyone out there to see that, like, hey, you can be healthy and fit at any age, and just to really inspire people to really take things seriously and really work on themselves?
It's too late. I mean, I developed a lifestyle. There is no turning back. So, and I have made an impact on my grandkids and my parents. My mom didn't like it too much because she was really old fashioned. Um, Getting up there on stage in a bikini was a real big problem for her. My dad, on the other hand, he was a huge supporter. And the rest of my family was.
I mean, it's just great that you're being such a positive role model for so many people and that I mean, you do all this stuff, but if there was one thing that you could change about the health and fitness lifestyle in general, if someone were to come up to you and say, like, Debbie, there's one thing that you can change about this lifestyle and everyone would go along with it, what would be one thing that you would like to see changed?
In my life or just overall what I'm seeing out in the world?
How about let's do both?
Okay, what I'm seeing out in the world is a bunch of gimmicks.
Yep.
I would love to see that change. I would love to see competitive bodybuilding change. I'd love to see the posing suits change, go back to, the good stuff, the good old days. I just like that. I just like older, older days, back, the past. Um, what I would change in my life?
Maybe allow yourself to drink some Dr. Pepper and not have to worry about it. Yep.
No, seriously, if I had a Dr. Pepper now, it'd probably make me sick. I'd probably fall into a coma, get comatose. So, what I would change about me and my life is probably nothing. I'm just no. I can't think of anything right now. We'll probably in this interview, and I'll walk off and go, "Oh yeah, that's what I want to change."
I cannot tell you how many times I fall asleep like the next night and think like all of a sudden like when I'm trying to fall asleep, it's like I should ask that question. Damn, like I totally. So yeah, that happens to me as well. But if we were to talk to you a year from today, where would you like to be at just in your health and fitness journey, just in your overall life? What are some goals that you would like to have achieved if we were to talk to you a year from today?
I reach out with people online. It's where it's going, I think, and then and continue to make an impact in society. Um, you have to evolve with the world, unfortunately, and things change, and you have to kind of change with that. So I will never get out of this field. I was called to do this. I've been doing it for 3 decades or more, little over 3 decades. So it's a lifestyle for me. It's what I'm good at. It's what I love to do. I love to help people, inspire, motivate, so and educate. So it's all going to be like online. That's the only difference that I could see right now versus working at a gym, which I'll probably never go back to personal training in a gym. But anyway, that's what that's what I would do in a year from now. Hopefully, that's what I'll still be doing.
And where can people find you online?
Online, I'm on YouTube, Debbie Crall Fitness, Instagram, Debbie Crall Trainer, and Facebook, Debbie Crall Fitness.
I'll leave a link to all that stuff down below. And I mean, again, Debbie, I cannot thank you enough for coming on and sharing your story and just being so inspirational. And, I'll leave a link, like I said, to all that stuff, and everyone go and give her a follow. I will, buyer beware. You will get inspired to get off that couch and stop eating those Twinkies and, get in shape. But again, Debbie, I cannot thank you enough for coming on and sharing your journey. And I really do wish you nothing but the best.
Great. Thank you. Thank you so much. And thanks for having me. I had fun.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Well, again, you guys, this is Ryan Johnson, DD on the spot, signing out. Have a great day, everyone.
So